Hello, everybody. My name is Najee. I am a community navigator here at the Illinois Prison Project. And today we will be recording for our Lunch and Learn titled From Frozen to Thawing Out, Building Emotional Balance After Prison. So when I came home, I thought I was ready. I had a plan, I had a job lead, I had a place to stay. I told myself that I was fine, that I just needed to get back to life and keep moving. But no one warned me how unprepared I'd be emotionally. Inside, survival meant shutting parts of myself off just to make it through the day. I learned to stay quiet, to stay guarded, to read the room before I even spoke. Out here, those same instincts that kept me safe started holding me back. I had to learn how to feel safe in real time. I didn't know how to ask for help without feeling weak. Some days I still caught myself preparing for danger that wasn't even there. Then I realized I wasn't free, but that I needed some thawing out. Throwing out isn't a quick process, it's messy, it's confusing. Some days you feel like you're moving forward, and the next you're right back in the same spot. As for me, it meant learning how to sit with emotions I used to bury, how to trust people again, and how to give myself permission to slow down. And honestly, I still haven't slowed down yet. 4 years home, and I still have some thawing out to do. I had to accept that freedom isn't just walking out of the gate, but it's learning to feel again, to think for yourself again, to love yourself and others again. It's learning to show up in the world without the armor that you wore for so long. This conversation today isn't about pretending we've got it all figured out. It's about naming what's still frozen, what's starting to thaw, and what healing really looks like for us. Because whether you came home last week or 10 years ago, we're still all thawing out in our own way. The purpose of this lunch and learn today is to learn about the real lived experiences and normalize the emotional aspect of reentry. Today, to help us discuss such a heavy topic, we have two people with us today. Would you all feel free to introduce yourselves?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Angel Pantoja. I am the Reentry Policy Coordinator in the Office of the Lieutenant Governor. Um, just as a quick introduction, I was incarcerated for 23 years. I was incarcerated at the age of 17, and I came home at the age of 40. Um, in fact, yesterday, and it just slipped my mind. Yesterday was my new birthday, I guess. I was released 3 years ago yesterday. And it
Congratulations.
seems like so much has happened within those 3 years, and I haven't really had time to sit down and actually really process that. I'll send it over to Dion.
Thank you, Angel. Yeah, my name is Dion. I work as the criminalized survivor advocate with Illinois Prison Project's Women and Survivors Project. So I do a lot of reentry planning for our clients, and then I also do a lot of system navigation and assisting them with just the whole process of getting reengaged with the outside world and reacquainted with service providers and kind of just assist them through that process.
Well, thank you. So we'll dive right into it. So Angel, could you share with us what parts of yourself did you notice were still frozen after coming home?
That's a great question because I didn't notice any of them were sort of
Mhm.
still frozen, right? Or at least I didn't understand that that a part of me was frozen. Now I I love the metaphor by the way, because it sort of implies that we were just stored away and frozen, and it reminds me a lot of the movie sort of Demolition Man, where Sylvester Stallone is frozen during
Mhm.
his incarceration, and he feels and he thinks and everything's happening even though he's in this block of ice. So the interesting thing is, I thought that because I had survived, 23 years, I navigated 8 different institutions, hundreds, if not thousands, of different cellies, hundreds, if not thousands, of different personalities when it comes to CEOs and everybody else, that I'd be fine out here, right? The So it's not that I realized that something was frozen, it's that it's been pointed out to me, right? And I think that's what
Mhm.
sort of ends up happening is the one constant, and I don't want to call it a complaint, but the one constant observation that my former sort of partners have had is that I don't like to communicate, which is
Mhm.
ironic because all I do is talk, right? I'm a policy coordinator. I'm on panels just about once a week. I talk all the time about my experiences, but yet there's another certain level of communication that's expected out here, right? From
Absolutely.
people that you're closest to. I want to talk about the work, right? And I'll talk about that
Mhm.
all day long. What I don't want to talk about is how I feel, right? Um, so I would say the method of communication or the my lack of communication is one of the things that has been sort of that's still frozen, right? I From the age of 17, the moment I got into prison, I was taught the less you say about yourself, the less people can use against you. And that is one of those things that I held on to forever because I knew that I needed that to survive, right?
Right.
And then I come home and I see how everybody sort of overshares on social media, right? And I'm like, that can't be healthy or good, right? People can call it normal all they want. I just don't think it's appropriate for me. So just seeing that made me even share even less.
That makes perfect sense. I've had similar experiences, even though I am a sharer on social media. But I am really like I'm slow to share. Like if I have things, it's just more of the like, oh, I gotta let people know my business, like, oh, so I do it, but it is like a kind of daunting thing because it's like I gotta let people know where I am. I gotta let people know it's just not normal. It's not something that was a normal thing when we were incarcerated. So I completely understand. Um, so what's one trigger that caught you off guard in your first months of being out, and how did you handle it?
So triggers that, first of all, wasn't expecting any of them, right? I remember having these conversations while I was still incarcerated with the brothers that already came home, and I would be on the phone with them, and I'm thinking, grass is greener outside, sky is bluer, nothing can bother you. Um,
Hmm.
and then it sort of happened instantly when I came home. The moment people started saying, what you need to do is, and then they would insert whatever advice they had, and 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 I didn't quite exactly know why that bothered me, but I knew it in my body instantly that it just bothered me, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I'm sitting here thinking, how do you know this is what I need to do? Right? Like I just came home, people telling me what I needed to do, that time is over with for me. Do you know what I mean? I instantly felt like the chafing of the shackles the moment someone sort of prescribes to you the thing that you need to be doing with your life.
Preach.
So that was the first one that I sort of encountered that really, just got the hair on the back of my neck just standing up. I can't stand it when people beep at me in traffic. And the funny thing is, so I'm a restorative justice practitioner. A lot of us that came home decided to take that career path.
Hmm.
Um, but I can't help thinking we wouldn't let even the slightest disrespect pass in prison. Yet it seems like I have to be the bigger person out here day after day after day, right? And I use the example of someone, honking their horn, which does annoy me, but there
Mm-hmm.
are others, right? And the thing of it is and it bothers me that I still do this, but I'm just going to be absolutely honest. I go back to my resume, right? And I'm not talking about like my professional resume. I'm
I
like, do
know
you
what you
understand
mean.
what I would do to you? Like, I have the capacity, and we don't have the capacity for violence,
Mm-hmm.
but some of us,
It's the culture.
right? And there seems to be a lack of respect, of lack of compassion, a lack of empathy. And I'm like, how is it that a lot of us who are incarcerated for very violent crimes are the ones out here that are sort of preaching empathy and patience and
Mm-hmm.
compassion? Do you know what I mean? While others just
Mm-hmm.
think that they can just say the most disrespectful things out of their mouth, right? Just the other day, 2 days ago, I was driving back home on Halsted, and I don't know if I cut this person off or not, but they just got right beside me. They rolled their window down and they said, I should jump out and jump your ass and then have your ass deported. And I'm like, I didn't. I sort of laughed it
Mm-hmm.
off. And
Mm-hmm.
look, I'm not gonna sit here like and pretend I'm a saint. I keep a baseball bat and a knife in my car. Do
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
there's still a sort of fear in navigating the streets that I have. But I'm not gonna, and that's the other thing. I'm not gonna allow myself to be a victim.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's just one, the most recent example of a disrespect that I have to say to myself. I'm not gonna throw all this stuff away because I want to retaliate because of someone's
That,
ignorance.
yeah. And that's stalling out because my younger brother lives with me and he thinks it's funny to eat my food. And in a joint is like that's like violation at
Don't be
its
going in my
finest.
box.
It's like violation. And the mental aspect of that for me, when I first got him, because he used to do that before I went to prison. Like I love lasagna, he'd eat it, or if I had snacks that he liked, he'd eat it and laugh. And it's like, I'm a little kid, but now with the trauma added on top of me, like I used to be in the house like daring him to bump me. Like it like on that type of time, like you look my way, I'm a knock. And it's just that's the thawing out that I realized I had to do of like you can't treat him like you would treat a cellmate because he a kid first of all like what's funny to him is traumatizing to me now, and so I had to find that balance, and it was like I just went and got him like I need to rescue him, not realizing how traumatizing it was going to be for me. Um so I definitely understand, things catching you off guard with just like getting out of that prison mentality of like this violation equals, whoop ass, and you have to get out of that. So Dion, what types of trigger responses have you experienced working with system impacted people? And what were their responses or like their reactions?
Well, I mean, I want to say, Angel, very well said. I really appreciate that insight on the giving like the telling people what they need to do and how that could be very triggering because I've definitely, first of all, I'm not a person with lived experience, so this is like for people, in
Mm-hmm.
this position that don't have that lived experience that are effectively functions of the carceral system, whether we're on this part of like helping them navigate the
Mm-hmm.
system or not. It's really important to like, first of all, I've seen my clients get like really upset with me and not really not verbalize it, but like kind of see them shut down when I say
Mm-hmm.
things when I've said things in the past, like, they're telling me that they feel these negative emotions like, despair or hopelessness, or like they're talking to me and opening up about like how hard and, how hard things feel. And the worst thing I feel like you can say is I understand,
Oh yeah.
because you don't.
Mm-hmm.
We are effectively people who are part of a system that has imparted so much trauma and pain onto folks who have had to who have been in the system. And, we are, and it's important to remember that we are still, at some capacity representatives of that. So, like, whether or not we have like the best intentions or not, it doesn't really matter. We're still a representative of that carceral system. So, you know, making sure that we are able to hold space and be very honest with folks. Like, I don't understand. I'll never understand fully like what it is that you're experiencing right now, like the weight
Right.
you hold. Um, but I can be here with you while you process
Why
that.
you?
I can
Yeah.
help you, navigate the system and
Hmm.
help you find what it is that you need to like move forward to like help you reach your goals, and I can't talk with you through these things. I can't hold them for you, but I can definitely be with you along the path. Because the last thing we want to do is be like a mirror for them, of folks, of like the oppressive forces that they've like experienced while on the inside and throughout their lives dealing with the system. I'm not a PO, I'm not a parole officer. I'm not gonna tell you sit here and tell you like, you gotta do A, B, C, or D to like stay
Right.
compliant, like, and this will make you a better person. Like, no, like that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to help you identify what it is that you want to do, to help you
Mm.
like, reach those goals, find stability and
Right.
healing through this process.
And we appreciate you, Dion. So what emotional patterns or struggles do you commonly see in people or in your clients who are newly released?
I, I see a lot of folks will either be at first like really numb when they come out.
Hmm.
Folks like really don't really know how to process things at first, which I think is like completely, normal. And folks that I've seen either they feel this like crumbling despair almost over these expectations
Hmm.
that they've imposed on themselves, that they feel that are being imposed on them by others, their family, their friends. Like it really seems like they just don't want to fail again. And they're just so overcome by that fear, that anxiety of these new experiences that are like around the corner and whether or not they'll be able to handle them, whether or not
Right.
their efforts will be in vain. They'll, end up failing and, going back inside. Um, or I see folks that are just ready to hit the pavement, um, burn bright, real fast, um, and want to just like keep moving on to the next thing, the next task, next appointment. Let me get this thing, check this off my list. Let me just like hit the A, B, C, D, whatever I can do to get it done and keep moving forward. Because they've spent like a lot of time what it feels like standing still. Like, how do I just move forward and progress and progress and progress and move forward and on from this part of my life? Um, and I think both are very normal and very human responses.
I was gonna
One,
ask you, like, even though it's not on the, I guess, like, part of it, but I was gonna ask you, like, do you have an opinion or thought about why some people come out in despair and some people come out like ready to go? I mean, I know I've served time, so I probably know the answer, but I would love to hear it from your perspective.
why people feel either way, I think it's a multitude of factors. It just depends on the person, depends on the connections they have, depends on how much time that they spend inside, how many people they have waiting on them outside, and like how many people they've lost while being inside. Like these are all like very hard realities. Like it's like one person that went inside for like 20 years is gonna
Hmm.
feel a different type of way coming out with like, uncles and nephews and nieces that are excited to see them versus another person who's been in for like 10 and has like two people waiting to see them, or like a town that doesn't want to, they feel like they can't go back to.
Right.
It really just depends on like the person and their experience. That's why I really do caution a lot of folks with no lived experience in this that I want to be like social workers, advocates in the realm of like people work that, you know, there are like ways to approach different situations and different cases and different
Absolutely.
things with like, some sort of insight based off of your experiences working with them and science and like, insight from folks who have those experiences. But the reality is every person's their own person, and we really can't generalize at your own caution or at your
Hmm.
own peril, because everybody's going to have these different kinds of responses to like every person has like a different combination of experiences. You just don't know what you're going to get until you meet that person, talk to them, and go through the process with them.
Thank you. So, Angel, how has your thawing out process changed the way you see yourself or others?
The thing about being frozen is that um, the sort of actual state of being frozen makes you hard, right? Um, and you think that because of this hardness that you're able to take on um, a lot more, right? The thing that sort of comes out of our mouth is "I got this," right? I got this, and I just learned 2 weeks ago
Hmm.
that in fact I don't got this.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna be very transparent. So I broke up with my partner, and we had been together almost 3 years. I had to move out, all because I didn't have it. Do you know what I mean? I thought that I can take on a lot more responsibility, a lot more stress, a lot more everything that comes with a relationship and a family. And the fact of the matter is, I never understood, and I never even gave myself time to be a free individual, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So now I'm staying with a friend of mine who's kind enough to let me stay in a spare bedroom,
Right.
and I'm figuring out this whole thawing process, right? And one of the
Right.
things that I realized is that it's okay to not have it,
Yeah.
right? And when we talk about the emotions, so I this is what I was taught when I was in prison, right? I used to facilitate trauma informed programming, and then there's 5 basic emotions. You got fear, anger, sadness, joy, and shame.
Hmm.
And one of the ones for me, like, just imagine a little bar graph, right? Like, which one do you experience more during reentry? For me, joy has always been like the lowest one, right? And then fear is a little higher than shame, and then
Hmm.
like uh and to me there was I'm still sort of dealing with the shame of like not being strong enough to have been able to deal with everything that came my way, right?
Hmm.
And so when we start talking about, like, these moments of despair, um I'm very familiar with that because I feel like I spend a lot more time there than anywhere else.
Right.
But something, my mind or my soul sort of taps into this part of where it's like you survived as a child in the worst conditions possible, right?
Hmm.
You're gonna survive this too, right?
Yeah.
And I think the difference between now and then is, while then as a 17-year-old child I had a few brothers who looked out after me,
Mhm.
right? And make sure that I was safe and make sure they taught me things. Now I have an entire community, right? Now I have, and my community is my formerly incarcerated brothers and sisters
Yeah.
who I can count on, who I can call, who call and check up on me just to make sure that I'm all right. Um, so therein lies the thawing process, right? Because when we come home, and I always picture, maybe because I'm hungry, a piece of meat that you sort of got to leave out in the counter, right, or in the sink, and
Thaw.
and let it thaw out on its own. And then I think about how other people are so quick to either run it under some water, throw it in a microwave, do all these different things to hurry up the process, not understanding that they could potentially be making, spoiling that meat,
Making it work. Hmm.
making it worse.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, there is no timeline, right? Let's get out of the mind frame that this thawing process has a timeline, right? I've been home 3 years, and I realize I'm not even halfway thawed out yet.
Right.
And yeah, there's a little bit of despair, like, damn, how much longer is this gonna take? Right? Like, I'm
Yeah.
expected, and Dion, you made a great point about these expectations. When I come to work, there is no, we're gonna give you time to thaw out. No, you're expected to perform, and you're expected to perform at a very high and effective level,
Absolutely.
right? When we get in these relationships, whether it's family or whether it's a romantic relationship, there are these expectations like, hey, you're 40 now. You better, hurry up and get to it because we don't have time for you to be thawing out,
That's
right?
true.
I need you. The kids need you. Your family needs you. Your mother, your father, they need you. So for me, I'm like, maybe I need to just sort of separate myself from certain things so that I can thaw it on my own because you want to turn the water on me, or you want to hurry up and
Mm.
stick me in the microwave.
Oh.
And I know you mean well because you want me to
Oh.
hurry up and be well, but I kind of need to do this at my own time. And that's
You
sort of where the
said
heartbreak
that.
comes in, right?
Yeah.
Because people love you and they want you to be well and they want you to thaw out, but in their sort of urgency to make sure you're okay, they're going to end up harming you. And the first thing people will say, well, why don't you pinpoint that one thing that's stressing you out, and we can try to get rid of it. And I'm like, when it comes to us, and I'm sure it's like this with everybody else, there is no one thing. It's an
Mm-hmm.
accumulation of many things, right? You pull one string and then one other thing happens. So what are we going to do? We're not going to fix this by putting a band-aid over one issue or making one change in behavior and thinking everything else is going to be fine.
Right.
Right? There needs
Absolutely.
to be a sort of a collection of wins, or an escalation of wins, or a scaffolding of wins, whatever it takes, so that when I do feel a pressure or when I do experience a loss, I'm okay because I've got enough of them in my pocket that I know I'm going to be all right. Right.
Right. Because I feel like you're touching on the next question, which I feel like is a good bridge to it. But so what does emotional balance look like for you today? And how do you know when you're starting to like freeze back up, right? Like starting to kind of get back into the mentality of prison sometimes.
So, like, I'll flat out say it. Like, I'll say I'm bugging up right now. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll say it, and sometimes it happens during count time at 9 o'clock, right? Like, I know when
Oh,
count
yeah.
time is. And that's
Mm-hmm.
when I will physically jump in my car and drive up and down Lakeshore Drive. I ain't going nowhere and I ain't doing nothing but wasting gas. But I'm listening to music, got the windows down, got the air just hitting my face because I
I
know they
do
want me
it.
to lock up right now. Don't nobody want,
Woo.
like, in my mind, I know it's lockup time and I know it's time. I'm like, no, I'm out of here. Right? I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Um, sometimes I'll be in a crowded situation where I'm at a parade or at a concert, and I'll instantly feel like I gotta go lock up. I gotta go lock up,
Mm-hmm.
right? And all that means is I just want to go back into my room,
And you'll,
put on
yep,
some
your
music,
shell.
and just let me be okay with whatever's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Wow.
so yeah, I'm getting better at recognizing when these things start to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I can't stand when people yell,
Me either.
right? I just
Why you
there's
so
certain
loud?
things that will just, yeah, why are you so loud? Like, damn, I'm right here. I can hear you.
Me too, bro.
So there are certain things that I'm able to, recognize, right? And the great thing is that our body knows it before our brain can sort of identify it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I used to think that was like garbage when people are like, listen to your body, listen to your language. Like,
Body
bro,
keeps the
just
score.
it does. It really does, right? Like it will feel it in our central nervous system before our brain
Mm-hmm.
can even process it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting better at slowing things down and realizing, okay, what brings me happiness, what brings me fear, what causes fear, right? And there are some things that I'm afraid of and I'll just face. Like I can't stand mice. You know what I'm saying? But if I got to take out the garbage at 10 o'clock at night, I'm gonna take out the garbage at 10 o'clock at night,
Mm-hmm.
regardless if there's 1,000 rats in the alley or not. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna go ahead and overcome that fear. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
I'm not gonna
right.
let those things sort of stop me. Um,
Absolutely.
but to find emotional balance, Gigi, and the reason this is a beautiful question is because people expect these grand sort of gestures or these grand sort of events to sort of to be put on this scale.
Mm-hmm.
You want to know what brings me happiness? Some good macaroni salad.
Say that again. Oh, you said
Do you know what I
macaroni
mean?
salad? I thought you said
And and
macaroni.
and the thing is life is sort of comprised of these little things that bring us joy, and life is comprised of these little things that we avoid that will get us angry, right?
Absolutely.
Like if I find I'm always on the lookout for great soul food restaurants. You know what I'm saying? That's just my
Yes.
thing. But if I find some good meatloaf, I'm there and it makes me happy. And I can say, you know what, today was a good day.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Today was a good
Yep.
day, regardless of how many emails I had to send out, regardless of how many people I had to deal with. It
Yes.
sort of evened myself out. But I'll be
Mm-hmm.
damned if I'm gonna go to sleep mad. You know what I'm saying? And sadness isn't something I've necessarily been able to conquer. Um, but the other thing I think we need to consider in the thawing out process is that some of us, myself included, were diagnosed with PTSD. And my therapist told me, she's like, I'm sorry you went in as a child. There was no way you were going to come out of this unscathed,
Yeah.
right? So
Yes.
I'm like, okay, now at the very least, I understand why I have these sort of sudden moments of depression, right? I get it now.
Oh.
It's not that it's not that I'm necessarily broken. It's that I'm sort of still dealing with something, right? And then there's sort of a difference between I'm dealing with it and I feel like I can handle it to where others like, oh, there's something wrong with me. At least I know what I'm dealing with, right? If I'm a diabetic and I sort of make the difference between you know, physical disabilities and mental disabilities, and maybe disability isn't the
Mm-hmm.
word, but if I'm a diabetic, maybe I need to stay away from sugar. If I have PTSD, maybe I should stay away from certain things that will trigger me. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
go that route. I still go to prisons all the time. I still work in reentry. I still do all those things that I probably need to stay away from. But in my mind, the one thing that's been giving me purpose so far is if I can help my brother or sister,
That.
they don't have to feel the same things I feel, then at the
Yeah.
very least, I may feel bad, but I feel good about the thing that just happened.
And that's like the traumatized and beautiful part of it, right? Like you're willing to do something that you know is going to traumatize you for the greater good. Because I went back into Logan like 2 years after I came out, and the moment I walked in there, I'm like, it was hot. I started taking my jacket off. I'm like, oh man, my stomach hurt now. I gotta go to the bathroom. I'm like, why am I here, Gigi? You just left up out of here. You prayed to get up out of here. You begged God to get up out of here, and now you back. And it's just, but it's understanding when them women seen my face. And it was like, oh my God, like, there is somebody here fighting for us. There is somebody, who went home and cares. That meant everything to me. And it was just like, you know what? If I got to come back here for a week, I'm doing it. I do it every day. I ate noodles every night because it was just like mentally for me, like I didn't want to leave and go eat a steak. I didn't want to leave and go eat shrimp or because it was just mentally like I was back in prison, even though I was leaving every day and I was going to stay in a nice plush hotel, but mentally I didn't even realize like I went to Walmart and bought a case of noodles. Like these were things that I didn't even share with the people that I was there with. It was just in my mind. This is, how I'm moving. And it's so, I think the traumatizing part about it is you don't even know when you're going to be triggered. It's small things. I remember pulling a t-shirt out of my dresser and I just got a whiff of it and I was like, oh, it smelled like Cook County and my whole day was ruined. It smelled, and it's not that obviously it really smelled like Cook County, but whatever the smell was that I smelled, it put me back in Cook County jail. And I just could not shake that feeling all day. It was just like, oh, like I kept smelling it. Then my mind went back to Cook County. I could see things, I could hear things, I could remember things. The whole, people being too loud. It's just, those are things to me that I don't know will fall off with my falling out. Like I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever be okay being around a bunch of 60 women yelling, talking over each other. Like I don't know if that's something that I'm ever gonna like thaw out of getting to a point where it affects my day or getting to a point where, I can be in a room with 60 women screaming over each other. And I'm just like, I'm just in a room with 60 women screaming over each other and not like ready to ask all of them, like, why the hell is you screaming? Like it's those things for me that, and I was recently in a relationship where I have PTSD and, I'm used to living alone. Well, I have my little brother, but he's not home all the time. So I'm typically by myself. And so when my spouse or mate or whatever would come over, like because I'm used to being home, he may be in the hallway if the lights is off. Like I would get scared, like, oh, like, I didn't know you was there. And he's like, well, I'm here. Why you keep jumping? And I'm like, look, you go from being on guard all the time. You go, and then I've been in trauma. I've been through some things. I'm like, so instead of like making a joke about why I keep jumping or why I'm always like startled, like ask me why. Like what happened? What makes you feel this way? Anybody knows my story? Like I've been shot at and all type of stuff within my case. So it's like of course, as you said, it'd be amazing if I came out unscathed, but it's even in some of us don't even give each other grace, right? Like I can be doing work with a system impacted person. This could be my brother or my sister, and it's like I know where we been and I know, and I will still get upset for things, like why you didn't do it? Why you going so slow? Or why so it's just like that's even a trigger for me because in a joint, like when you working, you got a job to get done. Typically, you're doing it by yourself. So coming home, having to work closely with people, having to, get comfortable with different work styles and everything, where it's normally just you got this set of tasks for the day, you responsible for this. You don't have to worry about working with other people and asking other people for help. And what do you think about this? And what's your feedback? And dealing with people telling you this is bad, take it back. And it's just so many things that it's like you're thrown out here and you really, no one cares if you still frozen. You could be an ice cube standing and they still need something out of you. It's like, hey, I need you to do this. And now that you're here and it's like, you see all this ice on me? You see all this, like I'm still sitting here, it's cold. And people don't see past that, and that makes me, I know, resentful to like society, to communities, to family, to because it's like the whole aspect of telling me what I need. Well, maybe you just need to, or maybe you just, how would you know what I need? That's my question. Because you did how much time? How much amount of time? How long you been? Oh, okay. Because I don't even know what I need half the time. And that's my thoughts of like, I don't even be knowing what I need sometimes. Sometimes I'll be mad, I don't even know why. And I'll stay to myself because I'm like, okay, I have these emotions and I woke up, I'm mad as hell. I don't even know why. But it's understanding like I've woke up looking at cinder blocks for 9 years. And sometimes I have that, like I have that expectation that I'm gonna wake up and see cinder blocks. And that's
You know what it is, G?
uh-huh.
We played chess for so long. We studied the board, we studied the
Yeah.
pieces, we studied everything. And it seems like people out here just playing checkers. They hopping on one thing, hopping on the next, hopping.
That.
I'm like, are you not really sort of strategizing, your next move? Are you really not?
Mm-hmm.
And then they're sort of come back to when something doesn't go their way, or if they're come back to when we don't fit their mold, is
Mm-hmm.
you're not in prison anymore, right? You're not. That's another trigger when someone like I still put chips on top of everything, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's a
Oh.
burrito, whether it's a noodle, I'm putting some chips on top of it. And people are like, you do that? You're not in the joint anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And and it's almost as if the moment they say that, they're devaluing the life that we had in the past. Now, I don't care about what
Mm-hmm.
your opinion about prison is, but you're not going to devalue the life that I lived in there, right? The
Mm-hmm.
reason I put chips in the joint is because that's something that I enjoyed. It's something that brought me comfort. It tasted right. It
Right.
made me feel good. But you're gonna say you're not in the joining anymore, so you can get rid of that.
Exactly.
What
Exactly.
right? And that's just one example because it will also say you're not in the joint anymore when you process things too fast or when
Mm-hmm.
you contemplate things too much. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like we come from a place where we'll send out a request slip and we won't get an answer for a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So we have this sort of internal patience to sort of see how everything is going
Have
to
to be
play out.
patience. Yes.
But you want to hurry up and rush us into
Mm-hmm.
something. And if we sort of take a look at how your life has been, even though you haven't been incarcerated,
Not
so
impressed.
you're not really you haven't really accomplished anything, but you want to hurry up and
Mm-hmm.
rush me though.
Yep.
Like that
And I
doesn't really make
learned when I had kind of like first came home, I went to church, and ironically, the preacher was talking about people who have been incarcerated. And he was saying that we have an advantage. This was his thoughts, right? I'm not saying it's law, but even though I think it is. He was saying that we have an advantage of like, that we've had time to sit and process. And I think that is the difference. And people are out here, nobody has to sit down and think and process stuff. Everybody's just going, gotta go to work, got kids, got this, got this, got this. You going, 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 going. Nobody is sitting down. Nobody has the time to. Nobody has the capacity to. Nobody, because then when they sit down, they sleep, they tired, they whatever the case is. And so I think that's the difference. We have had time to sit and really think about these things. And I know we got a little bit of time left, so I'm gonna get to the last question. Um, okay, so how can we hold space for people still in the thick of their thawing out process? And both of you all can answer this without judgment or pressure to be healed.
I think holding space is important, not only in words but in action, for folks. Holding space and reserving judgment, you know, uh,
Hmm.
showing that patience when it takes folks longer to arrive to a conclusion when they're like processing how their options, should I live over here? Should I go over here? Um, Giving them space to like really think about what it is they need when you ask them and asking them what they need. Like, they are the experts in their own, lives, and they're the experts in their own needs as well. We can recommend stuff and point out what could be helpful, and we can look at the patterns that we see, but ultimately, like, they've survived the carceral system that like takes away people's autonomy and agency at every corner and every way that it can. So you know, the best thing you can do is just, you know, I don't want to say restore that because it's a super paternalistic and it's not at all what you're doing, but honoring that in that person, helping, them like recognize it and just, holding space for them to make their own decision, like, what it is that you need, how are you feeling now? And it's okay if it takes a minute,
Right.
and, understanding that maybe they need stuff that's like not what you think is like in your role requirements, I'm supposed to help you find this resource, or I'm supposed to help you find this like application for this thing or schedule an appointment. But like, you know, I once took a client of mine to a place to get signed up for a thing, like a registry thing. And as part of her parole requirements, I told her where the uh, s- registry site was, the hours that they'd be available, and what day she need to go. And I
Mhm.
could have stopped right there. I could have been like, okay, cool, that's what you need to do. I connected you to the resource, or connected you to the appointment. You're good. Go take care
Right.
of it. This is your thing to do. That's not specifically typed out in my like role description. Um, but she had just gotten out, and it's day 3, 4, she's overwhelmed. There's like a lot going on. So, she's dealing with a lot of anxiety, and she's really down and really like, she doesn't want to ask for help with this. I could see like she's like, okay, I think I can go do this. I asked her like, do you think it'd be helpful if I went with you? She said, yeah, I'd actually really appreciate that. Go with her down there. And I walk through a metal detector, walk up the stairs, this big old dude, sheriff looking guy with gun on his hip and a badge on his chest. And he's like, ma'am, are you gonna step through? And I look behind me, my client's just sitting there, like, just, you know, can't move, like paralyzed.
Right.
I go down and I'm like, hey, are you good? Like, check in, like,
Right.
you okay? For me, it was just walking through a metal detector and up some stairs around the corner to her. She told me afterwards, like, I thought I wasn't gonna come out of there.
Mhm.
And I realized earlier in that moment, was like, oh, these like these institutions are reflected, like the carceral state is like reflected in these institutions everywhere. And because I have the privilege of not knowing that
Right.
that might be like super triggering for her. You know, I am privileged in not having to experience that visceral fear or that visceral like you know uh traumatic trigger of like, not knowing if you're going to be able to walk back out between those metal detectors. So I walked up with her. I gave her a second. I told the sheriff, hey, give her a second. She needs a
Right.
minute. If we have to, we'll go outside and wait. And then we took like 5 minutes and walked up those stairs around the corner. I told her, look, we're gonna walk in here, we're gonna get signed up, we're gonna find out what's expected of you, and then we're gonna walk out together. That's what's gonna happen. And we did just that. It took like
Mm-hmm.
20-minute appointment, took like 3 hours, but I sat with her
Mm-hmm.
like 3 hours, moved some stuff
Right.
around, because if I hadn't, I don't know if she would have like stayed, because that
Right.
was a lot. It's too much. It's a lot to ask of somebody. So I'm not saying like, yeah, you got to go and do that for every single person, because in
Right.
reality, we all are at capacity usually. We
Right.
all have a lot going on. We all have a lot of like duties to a lot of folks. But if it is in your capacity, you know, I don't really see it as going like the extra mile. I see that as just like that's the job. That is the job. That is like
Right.
being an advocate. That is being like a real social worker. Is like going with them and helping them navigate these like hard parts of the system that might not be even like the things that we take for granted,
Mm-hmm.
not having been system impacted. So yeah, just like being attentive to like another person's like situation and experience, being humble enough and open-minded enough to realize that there are going to be gaps in our understanding of like, you know, how they're going to react to things. And,
Right.
they have like a completely different set of experiences, and honoring that's like a big, big part of being an effective system navigator, reentry person, social worker, whatever you want to call it, being in this people work.
Okay. Thank you. Angel, and I mean if you can keep it a little brief, can you want to
My bad,
answer?
Angel.
It's
No,
okay.
so I'm so glad. We call that in the restorative justice community as radical accompaniment, right?
Mhm,
Where you go with someone, you don't just give them a list of resources, you accompany them, right? So
mhm.
to me, that's huge, and I'm sort of glad that's your personal philosophy. I'm hoping more people who get to know you will also sort of take that upon themselves. Um, I'm also part of the People's Liberty Project, where we hold circles for formerly incarcerated men and women, and family members, so that they can come in and talk about anything and everything. And for those that don't want to necessarily talk in circle and share with everybody else, the way I sort of create space is I either take them to lunch, place they've never been before, right? I love going on the river, or either on the river walk or on the lakeshore trail, or I take them to the batting cages. And the reason I pick sort of specific places that they've never been before is because I want them to start thinking or seeing themselves in places that they've never been before, right? The thing about trauma is that it locks you into like precisely that sort of headspace, right? And the moment I take you somewhere that you've never been before, you start to imagine yourself in a different place, right? And then you either smell the lake, you smell the ocean, you taste a brand new burger that you've never tasted, right? Because we all tend to lock ourselves into a specific routine, whether it's work, home, gym, or it's whatever it is. And then you start realizing, hey, have you ever seen this place? Did you know that there are many mansions on the south side of Chicago? Did you know, right? Did you know about Phil's Pizza on 35th and Aberdeen? So now we can sort of talk about the things that are bothering them, while at the same time they realize my life can be a lot more than the things that are bothering me, right? I'm a big fan of incorporating, as many senses as possible, brand new smells, because Gigi, that thing you said about smelling something and it brought you back to a place, right? Well, I want to be able to create a different space and a different smell for you, and you're like, wow, this is different, this is new, this feels good, right? You
Yes.
mentioned the body keeps a score, and there's a book by that name, and I'll just sort of be brief about it. There's a story in there where the nurses are playing volleyball with those with the residents there
Hmm.
at this hospital, and they're letting them win because their body
Hmm.
needs to feel what a victory feels like. So when we
Oh,
start
wow.
creating this space for people to thaw out, right? I want their entire body to feel a brand new victory, right? So it's not just I think I'm thawing out, even though I'm still in my same old space, same old everything. No, now I know that I'm sort of progressing because I just learned and experienced something different, right? My body just
Right.
experienced something different. It experienced joy. It
Right.
experienced, some a good smell, a good taste, a good sensation. Um, and it's not anything original. It's not anything that I came up with. I had my best friend and his girlfriend, when I came home, did that for me. Right, I was a third wheel for like a month, and I enjoyed it. And they never seemed bothered by it, but they would take me to different places because they wanted me to see this can be your life as well. Right. This is just the beginning of what can be all these brand new experiences for you.
I encourage listeners to reflect on one pattern, reaction, or feeling still thawing out, and commit to giving themselves some grace in that process. And if you are not system impacted, I encourage you to give grace when you encounter someone who has been impacted by the legal system in any way. Thawing out isn't about being fixed, it's about being honest with where you are. Be patient with yourselves. Today's Lunch and Learn ties back to our Thawing Out Toolkit as a framework for understanding the emotional realities of reentry. It's not an easy fix, but a mirror for self-reflection. This toolkit is a social, emotional resource created to help system-impacted individuals understand the emotional, mental, and interpersonal challenges of reentry. It covers key areas such as self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship building. They are illustrated through realistic scenarios and tools that promote reflection rather than instruction. It gives language to what many experience but can't always explain. It talks about the internal freeze of incarceration and the slow, uneven process of thawing out. It's a tool for identifying what needs to be healed or thawed out. Thank you so much and have a good day.